The reason I convened this meeting, my friends, is because I have a confession to make. A full confession.
I think we ought to go back to headquarters for this one.
Yeah, I was hoping that wouldn't be necessary.
Sooner or later, Elliott, you're gonna have to make some kind of an official statement.
Look, I want this to remain between the three of us.
Now, that's not possible, and you know it. I mean, we've got certain procedures that we have to follow.
Now, wait a minute. You're thinking I want to confess to Margo's murder? What we got here, officer, is a failure to communicate. I have a confession to make. But of indiscretion, not murder.
Okay, Elliott, what is this all about?
Look, I want to tell you where I really was the night Margo got so brutally attacked.
Oh, that's really nice, since we already know you were telling us a lie about your last story.
But I have to impress upon you that the information I'm to provide must remain a secret. Discretion is of the utmost importance.
We can't make you any promises.
Why are you so reluctant to tell us?
Because the truth could impair my relationship and make it impossible to continue.
Look, you get convicted for murder, and you aren't gonna have any future.
Look, Deborah, look, it could alter my relationship with the woman I love. And make it impossible for me to live happily ever afterwards.
What is it you don't want Nola Madison to know?
The night that my wife was having her head bashed in, I was in a motel room with a young lady. Couldn't very well admit to that in front of Nola, for obvious reasons.
Look, you're married to one woman, you're engaged to a second, and fooling around with a third. Man, that is quite a parlay.
What made you decide to confess, Elliott, besides half a bottle of scotch?
Deborah, whatever I may be, I'm no fool. I know that being the estranged husband of Margo will put me near the top of the list of suspects.
Oh, you got that right.
And I also know that my alibi would be so paper-thin that it would be only a matter of time before the Monticello police saw right through it.
Right again.
And the minute you found out I was lying, you would assume that I had something to hide.
Crossed our minds.
Well, I am guilty of indiscretion, not murder.
Okay, assuming that your story does check out, Elliott, I think it's going to be impossible to keep it under wraps.
You must, Deborah. You must, not only for my sake, but for the ladies as well.
Oh, why?
Because she happens to be a married woman.
Oh, better and better.
I didn't think it was the role of the police to make moral judgments.
Look, just give me the details. Where'd you meet her and what time exactly?
Well, that's where the problems start.
Meaning what?
Meaning I can't give you any
Oh,
details.
for crying out loud, Elliott.
Look, I know this is not very satisfying, and this may not help my credulity any. But I felt I had to tell you, and just hope you'd understand.
Mr. Dorn, not only do I make moral judgments, but occasionally I use my brain. Now, an alibi without details is no alibi at all.
Come on, Elliott, this is silly, you know. It's one thing to make up a story, but another thing to hide it.
Deborah, I wish it could be otherwise. I really do. But not only would it ruin my relationship with Nola, but I made a promise to this young person not to reveal her name.
I see, just being noble, eh?
I swore to her that I wouldn't reveal it to anyone.
Her husband wouldn't like it, huh?
No, he wouldn't. Deborah, we were friends once, were we?
Yeah, but you were not noted for your honesty then either.
Look, I'm being honest now. Can't you tell?
I can't.
What about a polygraph test? Well, I could go down to the headquarters and take a test, and then I wouldn't have to give the name of the girl, would I?
Elliott, nobody at headquarters is going to agree to give you so limited an examination. It wouldn't prove
So
anything.
you're not an official suspect yet, so you couldn't do that.
Unless, of course, Mr. Dorn thinks something is going to come up that's going to make him an official suspect.
You know very well the circumstances of Margo's murder. You know very well that there is only one possible suspect. And if you do want my advice, you will take that suspect and put him behind bars.
Well, thanks for your advice.
Anytime, if you'll excuse me.
Well, what do you think?
Don't know. I mean, he could be telling the truth. Sometimes a weak alibi is a lot better than a strong one, you know?
Yeah, well, he just could be aware of that, too. I mean, he's no fool, Deborah.
The question is, though, is he a killer?
I don't know, Logan. I keep trying to make some sense out of it, but I just can't.
Well, I sure wish there was something I could say, but never is at a time like this.
Honey, it's getting late. You sure you don't want to go to bed?
I shouldn't even be here. I'm going to scoot. I just came by to say how
No,
sorry
no, you stay here. Listen, I think it helps to talk about it.
There's one thing I know. It'll take time, but the pain will go away.
You know, it's difficult enough to cope with losing Margo, but right now I'm living with this fear that the next time the doorbell rings, it's going to be the police to
Hey, come
arrest
on.
Draper.
That's enough. No more talk like
Draper, if I lost you now, too, I don't know what I'd do.
April, that's enough. I don't want to hear that kind of talk. I had nothing to do with Margot's death, so I have nothing to worry about.
Draper, don't ignore the facts that circumstances make you a prime suspect.
Nobody's going to arrest Draper. At least not right now.
Oh? Sounds like you know something.
I was over at Derek Mallory's office this evening, and, well, the evidence against you is pretty damning. But it's all circumstantial, and he knows that. He also knows what kind of a person you are, and he's not going to act hastily.
Logan, innocent people do get convicted on circumstantial evidence. I think I'm a prime example of that. And the way it stands right now, Draper is the only one who could have done it.
Well, I'm afraid he's lost the distinction of being the only suspect on the list.
What?
Elliott Dorn's up there with him.
Yeah, but Dorn said he went to a movie that evening, then he hung out in a bar for a while.
Well, some pretty thorough investigative report, work by Deborah Saxon, has punched that alibi full of holes. It looks like a slice of Swiss cheese right now.
You mean he was lying?
That's what Deborah thinks. And add that to the motive that you gave
Now,
us.
wait a second. What motive?
Well, I just told Logan what Margo had told me, that Elliott had asked her for a divorce and she refused.
Now, wait a second. If you're going to accuse somebody because you
Draper,
don't like them...
I was only telling Logan the truth. Elliott was furious when Margo refused the divorce. He must have called the station a dozen times looking for... If you don't believe me, ask Nicole.
I believe you, but I also see what you're trying to do, and it's not...
Draper, Elliott was desperate to marry Nola Madison. Now, he couldn't do that unless he had gotten a divorce first, right?
Not in this state.
And Margo exploded when she found out what he intended to do. And then again, who his intended was. And then Margo realized that if she gave Elliott a divorce, he'd be very happy.
And that's the last thing that she wanted to do, believe me.
And that's when she swore to Elliott that she would not give him a divorce.
And you think he got his freedom another way?
It's possible, isn't it?
Draper, if I were you, I wouldn't go around ignoring suggestions, especially when they make this kind of sense. I mean, considering your circumstances.
And remember what Logan said, that Elliott does not have a proper alibi for the night of the murder.
Well, you know, I appreciate what the two of you are trying to do, and believe me, I wish it were the answer, but I don't...
It isn't an answer, it's the beginning of one.
Well, just prove it. That's all we have to do, is prove it.
Honey, give us a call. We'll come right in. There you go.
Thank you.
You know, this is the first time in a couple of days I've seen April brighten up.
I should have mentioned Elliott's name the minute I came in.
Yeah, Logan, are you sure you're just not giving us a false dose of hope here?
Draper, without sounding too vituperative, I have to say that Elliott Dorn is scum. The man is totally amoral.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put murder past him, not for a minute.
And I've got to put a pin in your balloon, Logan.
Oh, come on. I mean, this is the first positive news that we've heard.
All right, look, assuming he had the motive, when did he do it?
Come on, the theory is a couple of hours old. Give the police a chance. They'll put the pieces together.
Logan, I was sitting in the car waiting for Margo. I saw her go in. I saw her get in the elevator. I mean, if we had been any closer, we would have gone up in the car together.
It's a good thing you didn't. Whoever clobbered your mother-in-law might have gone after you.
The car came back down. I got on. I mean, nobody got on with me or before me. Yet, in the time it took to get up to the penthouse, somebody killed Margo?
Home run swing with a poker doesn't take that long.
Oscar swore she was up there by herself.
Okay. Suppose Elliott came by during the day, huh? Why couldn't he do that? He was married to her, he used to live there, he had keys to the place. Oscar wouldn't think twice about something like that, so he was waiting for her when she got there.
Then how did he get out?
He didn't. He didn't leave. He hid on the premises in the back of a closet or something like that.
No, I checked it out. The police did too. It was a party for two, just Margo and I.
Well, you're not guilty, are you?
Logan, the only way to get out of that place was through the terrace doors. I mean, the service elevator was locked tight.
Somehow, I don't see Elliott shinnying down 30 stories worth of rope.
Maybe he got out on the terrace, jumped off, and flapped his arms real fast.
Why didn't I think of that?
Now, when you get a serious answer to these questions, you come back and see me.
Oh, it's a deal.
Hey, Swifty, I want to thank you for all your support in this mess.
Get my bill in the morning. Moral support runs about $25 an hour with me.
It's cheap at twice the cost. I'm serious. I'm trying to keep April calm with this hanging over my head. I'm just glad I have you in my corner.
Least I could do. You're not guilty.
Yeah, I know, but I want to ask you something.
Mm-hmm. Shoot. Bad choice of words.
If I'm indicted for this murder...
Oh, Draper.
No, come on. Hear me out. If I'm indicted for the murder, you're going to prosecute?
It's not going to come to that.
You're not answering my question.
It's a ridiculous question. That's why I'm not answering.
And it's a big case, Logan. If it were anybody else, I'm sure the DA would head up the prosecution team.
Come on, you two. It's on the table. Who wants turkey? Who wants ham?
Turkey and ham. Reminds me of a couple girls I used to date. I think I'll have one of each.
Good evening, Nicole.
It's more like morning. It's late.
Well, I was driving back to the department. I saw your lights were on. I figured you were up.
Do you have any news about Margo's case?
No, I just wanted to see how you were.
Well, I'm all right.
I saw you report Margo's death on the news tonight. You didn't look all right.
Derek, I feel very awkward.
What's the matter?
Well, I appreciate your concern, but I really can't ask you to stay.
It's late, I understand.
Well, yes, there's that, and also, I'm scared.
Of what? What are you afraid of? Or is it who? Is Miles here?
No, I don't know where Miles is. He's moved out. Derek, this is really a terrible thing to have to say, but I feel like he might be watching me.
Deborah Saxon saw Miles today. She told me that you two had separated.
Yes, he moved out when I was in the hospital. But I saw him today at the studio.
What kind of mood was he in?
Well, he was very controlled at first, but he still doesn't trust me. He's still jealous.
Man has a one-track mind.
He made some more accusations. I can't believe that he means what he's saying.
What was it this time?
Well, as you say, he saw Deborah Saxon today, and she told him that I was in your office.
I see.
He takes a perfectly innocent situation and he twists it.
You're a beautiful woman, Nicole. I can understand a husband becoming a little overprotective, but Miles has gone off the deep end.
Well, you do realize that up until a month ago that he was warm, considerate, kind, level-headed man?
Yes, I understand, but now he's totally irrational.
His personality changed overnight.
This is why I thought that he was responsible for your accident.
Derek, I have been telling you the truth. Miles didn't hit me.
Oh, you can understand my questioning you. It happens to so many women.
He's not a wife-beater. Now, what do I have to do? Swear on a stack of Bibles?
All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I consider it dropped.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I suppose Miles has enough problems without being tagged a wife beater. Believe me, I know what that's like.
Well, you know, these misunderstandings can be very cruel.
You can take one fact out of context. It becomes a whole different story.
We're a perfect example of that, aren't we?
I don't follow you.
Well, we've had to spend some time together, and Miles assumed the worst possible reason to explain why. It was a misunderstanding.
Maybe Miles isn't so far off base.
What?
I mean, Miles misinterprets your motive for us having spent so much time together lately, but maybe not mine.
What do you mean?
I've been thinking. Maybe I've been contributing to his feelings of jealousy. Not intentionally, but... Well, hell, I used to be jealous of him. Nicole, you're a perceptive woman. And I know sometimes I don't come off as subtle as I try to. I like you. You must be aware of that.
Well, we're friends.
Nicole, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, I guess I've sensed something.
Maybe Miles has picked up on these feelings, even if they are one-sided.
Derek, this is very awkward for me.
You must think I'm a fool. I've jumped at every chance to be with you, whether it was business or personal. Sometimes I feel like I've even been parking myself on your doorstep.
Listen, if I've given out the wrong signal, I'm really sorry. It was unintentional.
I've always known exactly where I stood.
I guess this sort of thing happens to most everybody now and then.
It's not going to happen to you. You love Miles too much. I think you're right. It's getting late. I'm going to go.
So sorry. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. She's gone, Miles. I only knew my mother for 1 year, and she's gone. Well, look, don't... I'm fine. God, where have you been? I've been so worried. I've been worried sick about you.
I should have been here earlier. I wanted to.
Well, you're here now, and that's all that counts.
Yeah.
Truth is, I haven't really been myself lately, and I kind of didn't want you to see me until I got my head back
look,
together.
sit down, relax. Miles, what's wrong? You want a cup of tea?
Oh, sure. What's wrong is that I just ignored two very wise ladies when they told me that I had been working too hard, and the pressure finally got to me.
You look real wound up.
Last night, my office had been one of those really long days, you know, and I felt like there was a spring wound up inside of me.
Yeah, look, you've got to take better care of yourself, Miles.
I thought I had a good temporary remedy. You know, I went to the storage closet, and there's a bottle of whiskey there, a present from one of my patients, and I poured myself a good, healthy dose.
Well, you won't be the first man to take a drink after a long day's work.
I'm ashamed to admit the rest of the story, except I suppose Steve Guthrie will probably tell you.
Well, what happened?
Well, I got stinking drunk. I passed out cold at my desk. Steve found me. He was nice enough to take me back to his place and let me sleep it off.
Miles, this isn't like you at all.
I know, it's unusual. Funny thing is, I swear I only had one drink.
If you're not used to drinking, that's all it takes.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Logan, the whole night is a blank. I can hardly remember what happened. I know I woke up at one point, and I thought some fresh air would do me some good, you know. So I got up, and I went out for a while.
That helps sometimes.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, Logan, I couldn't tell you where I went or how long I was gone or what I did on that.
Miles, it probably doesn't matter anyway.
This all happened last night?
Yeah.
Busy night. A lot going on.
Well, you've been trying out my office for size. I hate to tell you, detectives, but I have no immediate plans of retiring.
No, we were waiting to talk to you. It's important.
Gee, the looks on your faces would sink a battleship.
We've been checking out Elliott Dorn's alibi tonight.
Thought you already did that.
Well, this is his second story. He admitted the first one was a phony.
Was he stalling for time to make a more creative effort?
He said this time involves a young lady.
Sounds a bit more interesting.
Well, it gets less interesting. He wouldn't give us the young lady's name.
Why not?
Just the chivalrous type, I guess. He said that she's married, just like he is. Get it?
Obviously, he doesn't want Nola Madison to know the truth. She certainly wouldn't like to know that her live-in boyfriend has been carrying on behind her back.
So what this means is this new alibi is no better than his first alibi.
That's right.
And so that means that it's all the more certain that Draper Scott is innocent.
Oh, now, Chief, I didn't put it that way.
It's okay, Deborah. I give you credit for trying. You and Calvin and Steve and the others. What I give you credit for most is your loyalty to your friends. However, I'm not a friend. And I know who killed that woman.